Hey, welcome back, another day, another vlog. Hope you're all well on this Friday evening. Yeah, Friday, wow, it's all happening. A week's gone quick. Yeah, always does on holidays, doesn't it? When you get to the holidays, it takes forever, and once you're on holidays, it just flies on past. So I'm sure it's gonna, for me, slow start this morning, but a good day from there on. I got a bit done. I had to go out to send a parcel off from eBay to one of the eBay guys I'd sold. My old anamorphic lens that I wasn't really using, so I thought I'd turn that into something else I can use. So I've sent that off, and while I was out, as always, Murphy's Law, I had to ride the bike down to the post office, and while I was out, the bearings come from Boca, so I had to go back this afternoon to pick them up. So I got a bit done this afternoon on that, which is good. I got a fair bit of footage done, but when I did go out this morning, I went and got some more B-roll for that as well. So I killed a couple of birds with one stone, I guess you could say. So yeah, I'm pretty happy. Glad I got the bearings here. They look like they're all good. There's one of the crank ones, silky smooth, looks really good. Super excited about getting it back in there and getting it all back together. So, and there's me wheel ones. So they're going to look actually pretty tricky actually, with that yellow little dust seal or dirt seal on them against the red, I think, in the wheels. It looked really good on the white tufts, so very cool. So looking forward to that. Still got a fair way, but that's now priority number one. I've got to get that out. I want to get that out as soon as possible. So I've got to get all the footage over the weekend, film all that, get the wheel bearings apart, put the new ones back in, put the new crank bearings back in, test it, run it, then start editing it and get it out to you as soon as I can. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. It's my first partnership with a brand as such. We've partnered with them for our fishing team last year, but this is the first time as an actual video. So I'm really putting I guess you have to put a bit of pressure on yourself, and I sort of think I'm ready for it. I'm really trying to think of the steps I need to do, make sure I get what I need to do, and all that jazz, to make sure I haven't missed anything. Worst case, I can refilm some stuff. It's a bit harder to pull something apart and redo it again. So I'm really trying to make sure I get as much as I can in there so I don't miss something for that. So probably close-ups and stuff like that. I want to come in and get some stuff when I go to put it back together to really show what you need to do. Pulling it apart's pretty easy. It's just a sort of a strip and smash out a couple of bearings. So, and then it's all clean up and prep. That prep's the hard part. But yeah, so we've finally got them, so that's good. I've been hanging on those to come, so yeah, very cool. Going and tonight, I've got to get this uploaded to you guys. So you've got the daily news, and then got a super clear night tonight. I was going to go out last night, but just changed the plans. Tonight's clear. This should be a good galactic center tonight at about 2:30. 2 o'clock to 2:30, so I'm shooting out at about 1:30 in the morning. I'm going to shoot out and try and get some shots of that, see if I can get a good one. I've tried a fair few times to get some star stuff. I've got reasonable sort of stuff, but I've never been in the right place at the right time to get that center or the right area. So work's tricky because so much light around. I've tried there a few times and it's just way too much light, and it just seems to I've really struggled there. So hopefully tonight I can get that shot I really want. I want a really nice one of the Milky Way that's sort of that portfolio shot of something from a bit of an astro one. So I'm getting there, and the more I do it, the more I learn, the better I get, stuff like that. So it's never a loss. Anyway, let's get on to this news. There's a fair bit there actually. GMC, got an email from them today. Obviously look at their utes, love their cars. Dream about them coming to Australia. Not as yet. I think it'll be a long way off, unfortunately. It's bad enough getting the other ones here, let alone the premium stuff. So they've announced the Hummer electric vehicle. So coming on the 20th of the 5th will be the announcement. So it's May. We'll have an announcement from them. Basically, it's a limited edition. You can see, I've got the screenshot you can see of just basically the front grille, that Hummer grille, but all lit up in LEDs. Basically, the only stuff so far, up to 1,000 horsepower, up to 11,500 foot-pounds of torque, and 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. So I guess it's weird to say, but EV side, that's pretty standard nowadays for electric vehicles, that 3 seconds, the 1,000 horsepower roughly, and the 11,000 foot-pounds, not too bad. I guess the Hummers weren't, depending on what variant, they weren't super renowned for their power anyway. They're more their off-road ability, so it'd be interesting to see more so the drivetrain on this clearance levels and how they can get that Hummer name back and what they're going to do to work with it. So I think that's more interesting on that than the batteries as such and the power. It's actually going to be the drive and how they go about using that to the best advantage. Apple, as always, Apple, they're a daily performer. You can't go wrong. They've always got news. AirTags, in their March release, a couple more things announced today. AirTags. So if you've ever had tiles, they're those ones. I had them when they first came out. I got some, and yeah, they're good. But yeah, I guess after 12 months, I hadn't lost it, and you got to pay for another one. And yeah, I guess if you're a person that loses things all the time, or you're in a space like you can get stuff stolen. So if you're at a university, going to university, and you've got like stuff like your laptop, if you could super glue one of these suckers on there, that'd be great, because then if someone steals it, you can track it down, stuff like that. So that's the only downside of it. You've got to sort of super glue it on so no one can rip it off, but I guess you can track them down before you get to it. So Apple AirTags, they're bringing out one. They're going to be a competitor in that market. So you're going to put tags on everything to find out where it is. Now they're saying their accuracy is going to be to a couple of feet. So that's pretty good. The tile ones were really good and they worked really well. I had no dramas with the ones I had. I just never repurchased once the battery had sort of worn out. So I hadn't really lost anything. So I don't really tend to do that. I'm sort of pretty good with putting my stuff where it belongs, I guess. Mechanic, I guess. Apple over-the-ear headphones. So we know they bought Beats for Pro. We know they've got the Apple Pros in here, but now they're going to bring out some over-the-ear ones. Don't know how this contradicts with their own company as Beats, because they bought Beats, because that was sort of their market. So this is an interesting one, how they're going to do it, what they're going to do it. Is Beats now going to be relegated a bit and they're just going to use that technology to turn it into an Apple product, or we're just going to lose Beats forever and it's just going to become an Apple? Not sure on that, but that's pretty interesting. That'll be a good one to see how that plays out and what their sort of ideas are around that and how they're going to sort of manage it. In the phones, hadn't seen it before, but a bit of a confirmation that a couple of the renowned leakers, I think it was Minchico, through Everything Apple Pro, announced that the 120 hertz for the Apple screens would be happening this year. So that's pretty darn cool. And yeah, iPhone 9 is going to be coming out. That's going to have the A13 chip and be $400. Now we knew it was going to be about the $400. We didn't know sort of what specs are going to be in it. This is the first time now. If it has that A13 chip, which is the current chip in the current phones, that's going to have a heap of grunt for a base model cheap phone. So very, very cool. And I think that's going to be, sorry, just got to make sure my focus is right. That's pretty darn cool for a base model $400 US phone. So it's about $600 Australian to get that level of grunt in a processor. So very, very cool. I'm assuming they're doing that so it can handle the software updates for the next couple of years. Now on software updates, they're saying that ISO 14, which will be due out this year at some stage, probably end of the year as per normal, that will still let you use phones back to the iPhone 6S Plus and normal and the SE. But this will be your last year. So if you have an iPhone SE, a 6S or a 6S Plus, you've got 12 months to start looking for a new phone, which is probably not a bad thing, because come September, you're going to have the best of the best 5G iPhones with the best specs you can think, that's going to blow away last year's. So this is probably a good year to finally trade up, and if you go to a new one, or then go buy last year or the 2019 phone and get it cheaper for a few $100 off. So you'll have some good options coming your way, I'm sure, when you change up. Caviar. We talked about Caviar with the world's most expensive phone. That was that one, that 24 karat gold plated with a mechanical watch on the front for $500,000 ridiculous dollars or whatever it was. Well, they've now created the cyber phone. You would have seen, I'll chuck a thumbnail picture in there. Again, thanks to iPhone, everything Apple Pro. Again, he found out through some leaks, and I went over and checked out the website, Caviar. Look, they do some amazing stuff. It's obviously not going to be cheap. I think they didn't have it a set price, but it was looking around the $15,000 mark. But it's basically a titanium. Take an iPhone 11 Pro and put that into a titanium body that has a fully fold up, what do you call it, cantilever system type thing that comes over and completely covers the front of your phone to protect it, of all titanium. So it's going to be mega bucks. Looks pretty cool, and I'll put some photos up, at least a photo up there, give you a bit of an idea if you want to check that out. If you've got a lazy 15-20 grand, and you can add whatever jewels you want onto it. But yeah, very cool. Something to add into the cyber truck history museum, I guess. Samsung S20 final design looks to have dropped. Very interesting. It has pretty much everything we've talked about in the last, but and the layout for the cameras has pretty much been locked up. Everything Apple Pro had a render up that they'd done off those pretty much specs. That basically it's got that Apple Pro sort of size square. Imagine that with just a little extension on to make it a rectangle, and that 100 times zoom. What do you call it? Yeah, the 100 times zoom lens will be down below the 4, but it actually looks pretty darn good. I'll chuck a photo on the thumbnail. I'm pretty sure one of them as well. That looked pretty cool and not too bad at all. It doesn't look like it's as long as previous renders look. It seems like they've sort of trimmed it down a bit and made it a little bit more neater and more aesthetic. That's the word, aesthetic. But yeah, so that's pretty much, other than that, everything else is locked in. Now, the one thing I did notice on that was in the final sort of specs that have been thrown out, there's no 8K in there. It's been 8K, and the specs they threw out, which he didn't mention for some reason, I thought he might have said something about that. It's got 4K 60 frames a second. Now that's still epically awesome. 4K at 60 FPS for a phone, friggin' amazing. We talked about this last night with that Canon EOS R5, what it takes to run that sort of video. That's a huge amount of data. I think Potato Jet said if that could run 4K 60 smoothly, he'd be super stoked. Well, now we've got the Samsung S20's gonna have that ability. So if a phone can do it, why can't that Canon camera do it? So that's a great sort of a thing to say, well, hang on, maybe some of this Canon stuff is possible. Are they working with Samsung? Are they working with Snapdragon to get that processor, Qualcomm and all that? So it's definitely something to look at. Prices, $1,450 US bucks. So that's 2,000 Australian for that S20. It's sort of pretty mega dollars for a phone. So you get a lot with it for your money, but definitely a lot of cash. Now the interesting one is they also talked about the Z Flip, which we looked at. And that is the same price as the S20. That's going to be $1,450. Now, we thought that was going to be the cheaper version against the Motorola. I think the Motorola is around the $1,200 to $13 US marks. So they're putting that with less features in it against the Motorola. And yeah, it's very, very weird. Very, very weird. Not sure what's going on there. So just let me, just 2 secs. Whoa. Just fixing ISO. Don't know what's going on there. That's better. Apologies about that. That's a bit crazy, isn't it? In situ. Rightio. So yeah, so I don't know what they're doing with that. That's very strange that they're putting that out there at such a high price. I thought they would have been around the $800 to $900 US mark, to keep it at least a level below that Motorola. If it's going up against that, I can't see it winning, unless they're a Google sort of fanboy. So very, very interesting. And last but not least, India now has become number 2 in the world for smartphone maker. They pumped out 158 million units. So 158, not maker, smartphone user. So it's not in value and cost. That's just in units go out the door. 158 million phones sold last year. That's a huge amount of phones. It's just very mind-boggling. And to think that's only 10% of the population has possibly got a phone. And you probably got to factor in maybe 1 or 2 of them are double ups or old phones and whatever. So, or work phones. So you probably got 2 or 3 phones running around. So yeah, 10% of the population. That's 90% of the population still to come online for phones. So that's a massive market. It's not like China. The boys at Lou Later were saying that because it's India, it's open source. So all your Android and Apple and everything, all those systems just work. China has different apps and different systems, so that you can't just take one phone there and make it happen. So very interesting that aspect. It's definitely shows that India is definitely going ahead, and Apple needs to find a way in there, because that's a huge amount of profit they can be looking at down the road. So definitely not one to look past. But yeah, amazing numbers in 158 million phones in 1 year. That's megabucks. Even at geez, yeah, 158 million. Even at say $200 or $100 each a phone, that's just megabucks. That's $15 billion just in phones. And it's going to be easily 5-10 times that, at least $500, I guess, for a phone. So you're looking at 50, 60, 70 billion a year. Wow, that's a big market, huge market, and I'm sure Apple will find a way in there in the next couple of years. They've been sniffing at the door, and I'm sure they'll want to get in and get more, because you turn in, even if they go to 50% of people getting phones, that's 700 million phones a year. That's, yeah, it's insane. Anyway, that's it from me. I've got to get ready, pack the kit bag up, do this little mini vlog tonight, a little bit of night session, bit of astro work, and yeah, I'm gonna get some sleep before I go out. I'll see you all again tomorrow for the Saturday edition. Thanks for stopping by, appreciate your support, and I'll see you all soon. So wherever you're heading out to the town, don't drink too much, stay safe, look after your mates. If you're going to bed, that's fine too. Get a good night's sleep, rest and ready to go into the weekend. And if you're going out shooting photography tonight, well, wherever you're looking up, I'll be looking up too. I'll see you in the Milky Way somewhere. No worries. Thanks for stopping by. See you soon. Ciao.